Hey friends, Barkey Dog back with another movie review. This time, we're taking a look at a modern-day martial arts picture from 1991, which has a few twists that set it apart from the genre's usual fare. I'm talking about The Perfect Weapon, starring Jeff Speakman. In this one, the hero, played by Speakman, is skilled in the art of kenpo, which is apparently a variant of karate in Korea. Our story opens with Speakman exercising so the audience can see he knows some skills, and he calls an old friend, an adoptive uncle who took him in years ago. Unfortunately, a drug gang chose just then to harass the old man. They want to use his shop as a front for drugs. Our hero decides to journey back home to find out what's up. Then we see a series of flashbacks that show how the guy was a troubled kid. His father was a police officer and single father and had a lot of trouble trying to guide him. Eventually, the dad kicks him out, so his younger brother is not corrupted by the older brother's influence. His adopted uncle takes him in and befriends him and brings him to a dojo to learn the ways of kenpo. Over time, he becomes a black belt, but while he's mastered the art of kenpo, his sensei tells him that he still has to learn mastery over himself and his anger. Back in the city, he visits the uncle who has a new mentee, a Korean kid who needs guidance. Shortly afterward, while both have left the apartment, the uncle is killed by a Korean mafia assassin. This guy is built like a tank and turns up throughout the movie. Now our hero is trying to find out who ordered the hit, so he can bring the killer and the gang to justice. This is where he meets a detective who turns out to be both his brother and a James Spader lookalike. The hero and not James Spader are forced to work together to solve the crime, one as an officer of the law and the other as an outsider. They have to face multiple factions of the Korean mafia in Koreatown, and our hero gets plenty of opportunities to show off his kenpo training. But he won't go back to the dojo until he has learned the final lesson the master tasked him with when he left to make his own way in the world. Besides Jeff Speakman and James Spader, the cast has both Mako as the uncle and James Hong as one of the mafia leaders. There are three things I really liked here. First was the way in which the flashbacks are handled. Most of them happen in the early part of the picture, and they set up the story in an unobtrusive and natural way. The rift between the hero and his father is nicely played. It's simple, we get the details, but the movie doesn't labor over it too much. The younger brother is good too, actually causing a fight his older brother has to get into, just like real kids. One cool thing is how they showed the passage of time as the kid grows up and learns more and more skills in the art of kenpo. We see the kid turning around as martial artists do when they spin, and with each quick revolution, his belt changes color as he works his way up until finally he earns the black belt. This moved the story along really well. There's no long-winded montage thing. It's quick and to the point. Perfect economy in the sequence. Really like that. Second, this movie centers on the doings of the Korean mafia. The Yakuza of Japan and the Triads of China are fairly well known in movies, but the Korean counterpart is one which you never hear about very much. So it's an interesting change of pace from the usual class of big Asian crime syndicates we're all used to. Third is how the fights are staged. Now, usually in this type of movie with Van Damme or Dolph Lundgren or Steven Seagal, the hero will take on multiple bad guys at the same time. He'll proceed to kick ass and take names, right? Not our hero. Here, the guy gets into fights with other martial artists and almost gets his ass handed to him on multiple occasions. Like, this guy takes a pounding. Sure, he rallies and comes back as heroes do, but we can see he's not a Superman. You get the feeling he can be beat, and the hero is in real peril some of the time. It makes the fight seem more real, more believable than what we usually see in this type of movie. And one fight happens in a dance club with a strobe light going. That looked awesome. The fights look great. Originally, this was part of a multi-picture deal for the actor playing the hero, Jeff Speakman. Unfortunately, all that changed after an executive-level shakeup at Paramount, scuttling the deal. The second picture would have been a sequel to this one, and the third wound up at another studio and became the movie we know as Speed. So Speakman got screwed. It's too bad, because I would have liked to have seen more of this character. Speakman went on to have a pretty good career. Looked like he worked steadily, he has a following, but this really should have been a launch pad for him, and it kinda wasn't. I suspect that's because the picture has some problems. There's some great stuff in it, but it still looks like it's a little cheap in places. Some of the directing choices are not the most inspired. Maybe it was poorly marketed. I don't know. But worst of all is the underdeveloped supporting cast. So you'll see this hot, sexy chick. The chick and the hero gaze longingly at one another a few times over the course of the movie. She was one of the young students seen in the flashbacks, and now we see her all grown up and hot and sexy, still hanging out at the dojo. In fact, she appears to be the only student or instructor or member other than the master left at the dojo, which to me implies that she might be the master's daughter. The way she and the hero look at each other implies a prior budding romantic relationship between the two, but since the hot sexy chick has no lines, other than her nice physical ones, and no one in the movie talks about her, there's no way to tell for sure. Now, supposedly, there is a cable TV cut of this picture that added back a few deleted scenes. In one of them, the hot, sexy chick and the hero have a conversation, but what that consists of, I don't know, since that wasn't in the print I screened, and I couldn't find the scenes anywhere. Might be on the Blu-ray, don't know. So the hot sexy chick is flying the hot sexy chick flag, and the hero is kinda saluting it, but the movie skips the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem, if you know what I mean. So who is she, and why is she there? It's an example of the sort of thing this movie leaves on the table. The young mentee, the kid, is also a character almost totally undeveloped and a wasted opportunity. Same for the mafia leaders. Who are they, and why do they do what they do? What's their history, their story, their connection? And the rift between father and son is never really resolved. These are things that are kind of frustrating about this picture. Don't get me wrong, it's a perfectly watchable picture. I liked it. But you can see how it could have been so much more. True, they weren't setting out to make Citizen Kane or anything, and the guy playing the hero is no Laurence Olivier, but you get the sense that with the premise, the cast, the ideas, the action, and everything, the movie could have been one for the ages. Instead, it's just another throwaway martial arts action picture. Perfectly serviceable, entertaining, and all that, but only meant to fill a few screens for a week or two until something better came along. And that's a real shame. With a tighter script, maybe a different director, and better development of the supporting characters, this movie could have been much more memorable and a real launchpad for Speakman. I'm giving this one 2 paws. There's a lot to recommend it. The movie has some energy, there's a few good car crashes, and even a big explosion. As long as you know going in, it's not going to be Enter the Dragon or some landmark like that. It's an interesting, entertaining 85 minutes of mystery mixed with martial arts mayhem, and more real-looking fights than you'd normally see in a picture like this. The Perfect Weapon is available on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and digitally from Amazon Prime. Well, that's all I have for you this time. I'll be back soon with another video. In the meantime, you take care of yourselves, okay? And I'll see you in the next one.